We have big breaking news in Pittsburgh. They've completely cleaned house in their management staff with several people being fired, including Hextall and Burke. We'll discuss what this means, who might take over the direction of the team in the future, coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some pretty important breaking news out of the Penguins organization. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people completely shocked by this, given the fact that the Penguins had a very disappointing season and missed the playoffs, with the opportunity really in their own hands to seal their own fate and get into the playoffs by winning a couple of games at the end of the season against teams that are tanking like Chicago and Columbus, and they failed to win either. Although the Columbus game they lost in overtime, and at that point it was meaningless because the Chicago loss ultimately eliminated them. But we've got confirmation today that Fenway Sports Group, who owns the Penguins, has relieved Brian Burke, president of hockey operations, general manager Ron Hextall, and AGM Chris Pryor of their duties. It sounds like they already kind of known this was coming in the past couple of days. I've seen some reports from Pittsburgh media saying that Chris Pryor hadn't been around for close to a week, and that Hextall and Burke were saying their goodbyes to people on Wednesday. So I think they already kind of knew after the loss to the Blackhawks, where they weren't getting in, that they were being let go. They've only been in place, at least in the case of Hextall and Burke, for 2 years. They were hired in February of 2021. They took over from Jim Rutherford, of course, who I guess could say it sure looked like it was an abrupt resignation. Rutherford ended up resigning. And of course, at that point, the team was still owned by Muriel and Ron Burkle. And they were obviously given opportunities here for Hextall and Burke to kind of maintain what they had and to try and take it back to a championship level. That season, they finished with a 46-25-11 record, 103 points, got into the playoffs. They were the top three in the Metro, ultimately fell to the New York Rangers in round one of the playoffs. Of course, this past offseason was an offseason we thought could be a lot of change. Letang and Malkin both were UFAs. It sure sounded like there for a while, and Malkin may not be back. That contract negotiation was really long and drawn out. I kind of personally did wonder if Hextall really wanted to bring him back or not, but they ultimately did get the deal done, get the deal signed. But this year's been a year of disappointment. They finished with a record of 40-31-11 for 91 points. They'll miss the playoffs by a short, small margin here. But like I said, going into the last couple of games of the year, after the New York Islanders fell to the Washington Capitals earlier last week, they had their own fate, their own destiny in their own hands. All they had to do was go into Chicago and beat the Blackhawks, a team that's clearly tanking, and they failed to do so. They got dummied in Chicago and didn't show up, and that's the reason why they're out. Now, of course, you could probably pinpoint a lot of other points in the season and say, well, that could have changed or that could have changed. One or two little things differently here or there might have made all the difference to get a couple extra points and be in. In my opinion, they didn't have a good trade deadline. Didn't they really have a great offseason last year? I mean, I know getting Malkin and Letang re-signed was important, but beyond that, I don't know they really addressed everything they need. I think the trade deal to Montreal, Petrie for Matheson, that deal doesn't look good right now. Petrie didn't have a good season, whereas Matheson didn't miss extensive time due to injury this year in Montreal, but he looked really good when he was in the lineup, and I think that's a deal that backfired for sure. They didn't address goaltending. Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith have not been able to get over the hump in the playoffs. They both have had their issues with injuries and inconsistent play during the regular season, and they've stuck with this tandem. I think, that, in my opinion, when they first were taking over with Burke and Hextall, I really thought that may be one of the first things they're trying to do is make a change in goal, and they never did that either. The Jeff Carter extension in place, that doesn't look real good right now either, in my opinion. The Granlund trade at the deadline, that didn't sound good at the time. Doesn't look good now either. I don't understand. Apparently Chris Pryor, the AGM, was also let go here, was the one who pushed Hextall to pick Granlund up in that trade. I don't know. That didn't make any sense to me. And here we are. Coach Mike Sullivan, as I've been saying lately when we talked about the Penguins, is completely safe here. He was given a long-term contract extension just a year ago, and I don't think he's going anywhere. He's brought multiple Stanley Cups. He's done a good job. And you can't blame the core of this team either. Crosby and Malcolm were both healthy this year, had good seasons. Letang did miss some time and another health scare, but overcame it and played well when he was there. They are not the issue here at all. To me, it's a supporting cast. And it's not all the supporting cast, but you look through the forward group, you look through the defense. Like the supporting cast just did not get the job done. there's definitely numerous issues there. Like I said, I think they got issues to address in goal. They have Tristan Jarry as a UFA. The blue line wasn't good enough. And the forward group, like, guys like Gensel or Rust were decent. But, like, there's definitely some holes there. And whoever takes over is going to have, some big shoes to fill for sure. And they certainly made this statement, Fenway Sports did, after announcing this today, that they are basically saying that they felt after the disappointing season that the team needed a new leadership and style, like a new leadership group and management to take over here and take this team back to championship caliber, because that is their intent. There's not showing any signs of wanting to rebuild or do anything else that we shouldn't be surprised. They certainly want somebody to come in and kind of do a retool on the fly and get this team back to contending for playoffs and championships as early as next year. So we'll see. One name to watch so far that has been brought up by Pittsburgh media that might be a potential fit. We'll see, obviously, how things go. There's going to be other names pop up too. But Steve Greeley is a name to keep your ears open about. Apparently he's a very, I guess what you call an up-and-coming NHL executive. He's had good success. He's currently employed by the Dallas Stars. Now, the Dallas Stars may or may not even want to give him permission to interview for other jobs. I don't know. But right now his title is a Director of Hockey Strategy, Scouting, and Development. They've got a good department in it. It's got a wide range of responsibilities, and he's done a fantastic job. I mean, look how strong the Dallas Stars team is right now, and they're set up the way they are with the veterans and the young players, that their window to compete and contend should be open for some time. They've done a really good job of balancing that between everything they've done there. So to me, he's largely responsible for that over the last little while. So I think does make sense. He'll be a name to watch, but there's going to be other names pop up too. We shall see. But let me know what you think might be a good fit. Let me know your thoughts on the Penguins' decision here to clean house. Did they make the right move? What moves do they need to do to this roster? They're going to be able to contend and compete again, or is it too late? Is this window closed? I mean, I know they're going to want to compete with Crosby, Malkin, Letang. They got all this time, money, and commitment now linked to them. But is it possible to still do that with everything that's the way it's structured now? Let me know what you think, and we'll talk about it further in the comments. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.